So I was actually on the Grown Little Boy's channel earlier, and he was actually talking about the three individuals who were indicted for witness intimidation, right? And so I was basically compelled to do this video. Uh, Basically, what happened is that I ended up debating via chat with him here and there, and basically going over some of the stuff that he was saying. And because a lot of stuff that he was saying, I was like, let me go and actually read through the indictment, because I realized, because they were saying that I didn't do my research and I didn't basically know what was going on. And I was like, you know what, they might be right, because basically the only thing I read were the headlines, right? The headlines on a few Twitter feeds. And then I read that the cliff notes on the Department of Justice website. So I said, you know what, let me get the indictment, go through this indictment, and basically look in at these allegations that they're saying that Don Russel did. Well, let me tell you, after reading this indictment, I believe, and I challenge you to prove me wrong, I believe that 95%, possibly 99% of everything in this indictment is 100% nonsense. And when I say that because I've read every single word in this indictment. And when you look at the things that he's being accused of, which is essentially stalking or witness intimidation or something like that, when you look at what he's being accused of, you'll find that this indictment doesn't support it. The allegations in his indictment doesn't support intimidation, and it doesn't support harassment. And I'm going to explain why in a minute here. So basically, when you look in this indictment, you're not going to find Don Russell telling Jane Doe, who we all know is basically Faith Rogers. You're not going to find Don Russell saying things like, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to F you up, I'm going to break your mama's legs, I'm going to break your baby's arms. You're not going to find any comments like that from Don Russell. You're not going to find any threats of bodily harm. You're not going to find any threats, any type of, you're going to find threats, but you have to understand that not all threats are illegal. For example, if I tell you that, hey, look, if you break my window, I'm going to sue you. Yeah, that's a threat. That's a bona fide threat. But is it illegal? It's 100% legal. And essentially, that's all Don Russell has done. So if you break my window and then I send you a text and say, dude, if you don't pay for my window, I'm going to sue you. And then I send your mama a text and say, hey, look, your son broke my window. If he doesn't pay for it, I'm going to sue him. That's 100% legal. And that's essentially the only thing that Don Russell has actually done in this indictment. So what you don't realize is that they are just simply trying to confuse the public. They're trying to pull the wool over the public's eyes. Now, I haven't read the other two indictments, and I may not to. I'm sorry, I haven't read the other indictments, and I may not, because I just don't really have that type of time on my hand. I only read this indictment because it just didn't feel right. So you have to realize that they're just trying to substantiate this RICO charge. They're trying to keep him from getting bail. So when you read this indictment, the first thing that I found strange was that they spend half the indictment talking about R. Kelly. Now, how in the world are you going to indict me, then spend half of my indictment, probably more, probably 60% of the indictment, talking about another man? That don't make any sense to me. In my opinion, if you want to tie me in with R. Kelly, You do that in R. Kelly's indictment. And if you mention it in this indictment, say, hey, the non-lawyer is a known associate with R. Kelly, and that's it, right? But instead, you spend about 60% of my indictment talking about R. Kelly's charges. It don't make it doesn't make sense. I promise you. The only way it makes sense is that you're trying to substantiate a RICO charge, and you feel as though in order to do that, you need to spend over 60% of my indictment on an indictment that's supposed to put me in jail talking about another man. That don't make sense. Absolutely no sense. How about you focus on the things that I'm being accused of? They can't. And they know they can't. So that's why they spent 60% of the indictment talking about R. Kelly, because if they let this indictment solely be about Don Russel, then the indictment would be maybe 2, possibly 3 pages. Maybe you'd have 3 pages of allegations of Don Russel. And if you only have 3 pages, then I can't confuse you. I can't throw you off. I can't make your mind focus on something else except the 3 pages that is directed to Don Russel. And if you focus on those 3 little pages that actually is about Don Russel, you'll find that it's nonsense. 100% nonsense. So because of this, I'm going to challenge everybody that has been keeping up with these allegations. Go through Don Russell. Go through Don Russell's indictment. I'm sorry. Go through his indictment. Show me one single allegation against Don Russell that's solid in his indictment. You won't be able to. You won't be able to. You won't find any unlawful threats. You'll find legal threats. Don Russell basically, what he did was that he took some pictures that Faith Rogers consented to. Half the pictures, from my understanding, after reading this indictment, she sent the pictures to R. Kelly, and he took those pictures, and he basically gave those pictures to Faith Rogers and Faith Rogers' attorney, and said, "Hey, look, these are the pictures that your client took with consent, and I'm cropping 2 of these pictures because we don't want the world to see her extremities." Right? That's all he did. And he's basically telling them that this civil lawsuit that you filed is bogus and she's lying. Right? I'm summing this up. She's lying. And if you don't stop with this lawsuit, we're going to not only sue you, but we're going to go to the police to file charges. That's all you're going to find in this lawsuit. So they know they didn't have much, so they had to fill it up. They filled this indictment up with R. Kelly allegations. And then they go into the RICO charge, and they're trying to tie in Don Russell with R. Kelly. Everybody, I don't know Don Russell that well. I'll just tell you that right up off the bat. I don't know Don Russell. I don't know much about him. I've seen him a couple of times on a couple of videos when he's meeting R. Kelly to get him out of jail. But for the most part, I haven't really been paying attention to Don Russell. I don't know that much about him. I'm pretty sure there's tons of information about him. The only thing that the deepest investigation I've done is this indictment. And I got to tell you, there's, there's nothing in this indictment that's solid. And I challenge you to show me one solid allegation in this indictment. I guarantee you won't be able to find one. So it's perfectly legal for someone, when they're defending themselves, to present evidence to the opposing party and to basically call the opposing party out. You don't have to spend 60% of the indictment with allegations of R. Kelly, right? Every I don't know much about Don Russell, but I do know he's associated with R. Kelly. So there you go, right? So what? So if you're trying to substantiate a RICO charge, just say that. Just say Don Russell is R. Kelly such and such, and he is R. Kelly is being indicted in RICO. Boom, bam, you're done. They don't do that. They spend a huge portion of this indictment talking about the RICO charge. 60% of the indictment talking about the RICO charge. And when they talk about the RICO charge, they don't talk about the RICO charge from the perspective of Don Russel. They don't say, well, Don Russel did A, B, and C. He was, this was his position in the org. They don't say that. They just talk about R. Kelly and how R. Kelly is charged in the RICO indictment. But when you get to Don Russel, the only thing that they can say is that basically he tried to defend R. Kelly. So let me get into that. It's 100% legal for you to defend yourself. If you come to sue me and I have information about you that's related to the lawsuit, it's perfectly within my right to say, look, you need to stop because look at this evidence. You need to stop, look at these pictures. You need to stop, look at this video. All these are evidence against you. So I can package that up and send it to you and your lawyer. 100% legal. 100% legal for me to say, look, I'm going to sue you if you keep this up. 100% legal for me to say, hey, look, I'm going to go to the police and file charges if you keep this up. Is it a threat? Yeah, of course it's a threat. 100%. But is it legal though? Yes, it's legal. 100%. So what they're doing is that they're hoping that you're not paying attention. They're hoping that you're dumb. And then to make sure that they can achieve their objectives, they fill this indictment up with things that don't even have anything to do with Don Russell. Okay, R. Kelly's been charged in RICO. What's it got to do with me? They don't even make any allegations of Russell in the RICO charge, at least in the portion where they talk about R. Kelly. So it's a game. It's a game, y'all. That's all it is. It's a game. They are basically coming after Don Russell because they need a scapegoat. Scapegoat, in lack of a better word. They need someone that they can parade in front of the federal court to say, this is the reason we shouldn't let R. Kelly out of jail. They want to say, this is the reason that R. Kelly should be hit with the RICO. Now, I can't speak to the other two indictments. I don't really have time to go through them. I only went through this indictment because, again, I was on the Grown Little Boys channel and I was looking at some of the things that he was saying, and I was looking at the indictment 2 days ago, and a lot of stuff just didn't add up. And they were accusing me, saying you didn't do your research, and for the most part, they were right because I didn't do much research. I just looked at the headlines on Twitter, and then I looked at the headlines on the Department of Justice website, which is supposed to be an official source, by the way, right? But just go through this. I challenge you. Get a copy of this indictment, go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and show me one solid allegation where Don Russell is threatening bodily harm, where Don Russell is intimidating. Now, of course, you're going to find things in here where they put words in Don Russell's mouth, right? And I think I highlighted one of them. So it's not even, they're not even alleging that he actually did something. They're just saying they think this is what he meant. So this is something I just found crazy. Based on training, experience, and knowledge of this investigation, there is probable cause to believe that when the author wrote, and they didn't even say Don Russell wrote it, right? They said the author wrote. The next two pictures have been cropped for the sake of not exposing her extremities to the world. The author intended to communicate to Jane Doe that if she did not withdraw the civil suit she filed, against R. Kelly, intimate and potentially embarrassing photos of Jane Doe would be released. So he didn't say that. He didn't say, whoever this author is, that ain't even the legend is Don Russel, but whoever this author is didn't say, hey, look, if you don't stop with this lawsuit, I'm going to expose all these videos to the world. That person didn't even say that. They didn't write it either. They're saying they believed. They believed. So I'm supposed to go to jail on something that you believe? You don't even provide any facts to back up these allegations. So I'm just going to end this video. I didn't really want to spend too much time on it, but I want to know what you think based on what I just told you. And I'm not lying to you. Read this indictment for yourself. I'm just not going to do a whole video on reading this particular indictment unless somebody wants me to do it. If you want me to do it, send me a donation and I'll read this and I'll read all the other ones. But I'm just here to tell you that this particular indictment against Don Russel is 100% BS, and I challenge you to read the indictment yourself, find one solid allegation, and post it on the questions and comments below of this video. If you have anything that's solid that's in this indictment, I'm not talking about anything outside of this indictment. I'm talking about what's in this indictment, right? So that's it. I'm just going to cut it off from here. Leave your questions and comments below. Let me know what you think. And please like, share, and subscribe.